What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and this is the warm-up, which is essentially a match preview for our next game against Wolves. And before we do that, thank you once again to our sponsor, Action Coach Sheffield. If you are a growing business and need that support to get to the next level, they are the people to speak to and have helped this channel massively. Thank you also to our Ramblers and our latest subscribers. It's very much appreciated. But what we're thinking, what are we thinking this weekend? How is it going to go? Well, for me, it's an absolute must win. And I don't just mean for Eki, I mean for our season. So if he loses this game at the weekend, I don't think they'll sack him. I don't think they will. And that's just an opinion. I think he gets until the international break. So he gets one more game after this. If he wins, he gives himself, not only does he buy himself some more time, but it lifts the whole atmosphere. You know, we could be a couple of points away from climbing out of the relegation zone. It's a huge, huge weekend, this. The one thing I would urge caution towards, though, Wolves are not an easy side. They've beaten City already this year. They've drawn with Newcastle. I think their main issue is their goal-scoring threat, but the play and the intricacies. And for those of you that saw Gary O'Neill on Monday Night Football, he's some manager. He's very impressive, carries himself well. One of these sort of understated and underrated managers, I think, that will soon gain a bit of traction as he continues to do a good job. Bournemouth are feeling it, aren't they? Sacked him because he wasn't the name that they wanted. Brought in Areola, who was a name that they wanted, seemed to be an up-and-coming European manager, or certainly a manager managing in Europe, and it's not working for them, is it? So, and I love that sort of thing. When clubs sack managers unjustly, look at Birmingham, absolutely loving that. John Eustace doing great, 6th in league. Rooney comes in, they've lost, 2 or 3 on spin? They deserve everything they get. So, yeah, fair play to them. Fair play to Wolves for turnaround, giving Gary O'Neill a chance. And he's rewarding him with playing well. We have to focus on ourselves, though. And I don't know how we pick ourselves up. Listen, when we're at Bramall Lane, they know that they're going to get our support. As long as they're giving everything they can. That first half against Man United, and only the first half, I have to say, but that first half was just what we needed. We play like that against Wolves, and I fancy us to be ahead going into break. And that might be something that turns the tide in this game. If we're leading going into half-time, then we may well be able to see it through. Unfortunately, we weren't against Man U, as we know. And then what we thought was a wonder strike until you saw it in a replay. But anyway, that's by the by. So, prepping for what is essentially our biggest game of the season, 11 games in. What's your team? So, this is my team. Not many surprises, I don't think. I'm going back to 2 up top, and I think we've got to do that when we're at home, particularly a game that we've got to win. Whether this is the way Eki sees it, I'm not sure. But I'm going 4 at the back. Obviously, Wes in goal. We've heard that Georgie Baldock's fit again, so he's coming in at right back for me. No questions asked. Luke Thomas at left back, and the makeshift pairing of Robinson and Trusty as centre halves, because Anel's not quite fit enough for those of you that have heard Eki's presser today. In the middle, we haven't got a natural winger, but I'm playing 4 players. So I'm squeezing them up. I'm making it as compact as I can. And the wider players, I'm wanting to tuck inside and squeeze a little bit. So we're going to have Hamer and McAtee playing on opposite sides like they have been doing previously. And I'm having Sousa and Norwood in the middle. Now, I know Norwood's a controversial call, and some of you will say, absolutely, one of the first names on team sheet. And others will say, what are you playing him for? I'm playing him because in a game where we're expected to have a lot of possession of the ball, I think he's vital to how we play. And I think this is one of the few games of the season that will try and control possession and try and dictate play. I might be wrong in that. We're probably going to be coming up against Tommy Doyle, who was obviously close to signing in the summer, wanted to come, shoulda, woulda, coulda and all that. And up front, I'm going with Ryan Brewster and Cam Archer. We need to be getting service into these lads if we've got any chance. Ollie McBurney's not fit yet. So keep the ball on the deck and let's play him through. Let's get to byline, pull it back. Old school United, how we used to do it. Let George and Thomas get to the byline and pull it back. across the 6-yard box. That's how it used to be watching us. And it's so frustrating when we don't even look to do it. We just cross from deep at the corner of the box, or we lump it high to our 5'2" strikers. It's not the best use of their skill sets, and I'm hoping that we adapt our playing style to suit the players on the field. That's my team. What's yours? How are we gonna unpick this Wolves conundrum? I don't know. I don't know. We've just got to keep his fingers crossed and hope for the best, haven't we? Because I think if we go behind early, it could become quite toxic at the lane, and that may well be his final hour. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes, but we're positive. We're hoping for a result, obviously. And I think we can get one. I'm positive. Listen, if there's ever a game where the players needed to turn up, it's this one. And I think the players have got a lot to answer for, and they clearly do too, because here in the news today, they called a players-only meeting. No staff, no management involved, no directors, just a self-policed players' inquiry, if you like, as to what's going wrong. And that's okay. Listen, desperate times call for desperate measures. I personally question how many leaders we've got in this squad, and I'm sure we'll find out on Saturday, won't we? I would love them to prove me wrong. Absolutely love them to prove me wrong. You know, you can point to players like Ollie McBurney and George Baldock, who we've talked about previously, but Jack Robinson wears his heart on his sleeve. We've seen Slimani in videos geeing up the players, but other than that, I think we're left wanting a little bit. Is Luke Thomas going to stand up and shout and roar? You know, I don't think Cam Archer's that type of person. I don't know enough about Gus Hamer as to whether he's that sort of character. And these aren't sort of flaws. These are just traits in people, aren't they? In terms of, we used to build our squad around leaders, and we just haven't got that at the minute. In my opinion, I don't think we've got that. So we'll see if this players' meeting had any sort of bearing on how we go for certainly for the next game and the next few games. Eki was asked about his future in the presser. He said he's not heard anything. He speaks to the prince in the hierarchy regularly. They talk about the future all the time. Are you going to be seeking assurances? No, he's not. Were you annoyed that it got leaked that if you'd lost to Arsenal, then you'd be losing your job? Yeah, I was. He also said, quite disappointingly, really, he sort of avoided the answer on will Reece Norrington-Davies play again this season? And it was just, listen, we don't ever expect Eki to confirm or deny anything because he likes to keep his cards close to his chest, and that's fair enough. But the fans like to be let in a little bit. You know, telling us whether Reece Norrington-Davies can play this season or not is not going to be the difference of whether we get a result against Wolves or not, is it? We'd like to know because we love the player. We want to know whether he's going to play for us again because he's out of contract to end the season. God forbid we've got another Jack O'Connell on our hands. So just let us in a little bit. You know, I know it's his personal and private information, and that may be the reason he's withholding it, and fair enough if that's the reason. But we're only asking because we care, and we're invested in the side, and we're invested in our players as people as well. So you were asked about Slimani, and I appreciated this response from him because it's something that us fans have been worried about, or sort of wondering about, should I say. Why is Slimani not getting more minutes? Because when he's come on, he's looked like he's made a real positive impact. And basically, like he said, he needs to work harder without the ball. And I'm paraphrasing, but what he said is, I need him to impact the game more when we're out of possession. It's all right him doing a little bit of okay, neat and tidy when he gets it in possession. But when we're chasing the game and we need to win back and recover the ball, he needs to do more. And he said, to be fair to Slimani, he has been showing me in training that he's a lot more willing to do that. He's improving all the time. So basically, he's getting a lot closer to being more involved more regularly, which is really good to hear. And I'll be honest, it's not something I'd noticed in Slimani's game, but to be fair, we all look like we're chasing shadows, in my opinion, at times when we're behind. So an astute observation from Eki. We know he's an intelligent bloke, and hopefully, you know, him pointing that out as part of Slimani's game will mean he can be involved more if it's something he's now improved upon. And in other news, he mentioned that Max Lowe and Will Asula are getting closer to full fitness. I'm not a massive Max Lowe fan, as we know, but he may well be able to compete for that left-back spot. And Will Asula will provide at least a little bit more bite coming off the bench up front in light of all our recent injury issues. So fingers crossed them returning soon will bolster us a little bit. But let me know, have we got a chance of taking something? I'd love to think we had. And I think we could, but it's whether we will or not. don't know. I genuinely don't know anymore. Is this Eki's last game? If he loses this game, is he gone? What's your thoughts? Should he be gone? Or should we stick with him? Should we give him a little bit longer and let him take us to international break and see easier games at home, Bournemouth and Luton and Burnley? I just wonder how long it's got to go on, but that's my opinion. I want to hear yours. What's your team? Let me know who's in your team. Do you agree or disagree with my side? See you at Triple Point just before 2 o'clock. And I'll probably be in there afterwards as well, depending on result. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blades! Ramble on!